It's another episode of the Brett Allen Show, a pop culture podcast, and I just love talking to amazing people, and we chat with your favorite actors from film and television, music, comedy, and more. And today we have the super talented Matthew Delamater, and he has a brand new project coming out December 17th or December 22nd. I've got like 10 dates here for this project, the Tinder Bar, because it's coming out on different platforms at different days. Matthew, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here today.
Brett, I'm so pumped to be here. Thanks for having me, my man, and a big fan of your work as well. And yeah, pumped here and be here and chat. Love it.
Yes. Well, let's talk about this project because you play this fantastic role, Joey D, opposite of Ben Affleck, Christopher Lloyd. George Clooney, I believe, is directing this. This is a big project. There has been a lot of buzz about this, even long before it was announced. People were talking about it as people became attached to the project. But this is a really big deal because there's just a cavalcade of amazing people like yourself in the film. What can you tell us about it, and what can people expect when they have the opportunity to watch the film?
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It's an incredible project, one that I'm so grateful and honored, honestly, to be a part of. It was an incredible team of people, really a dream team. You look down that cast list, you look at the crew, you look at the producers. It's just like, it was truly a dream, man. And it's this wonderful story. You know, it's a adaptation of a wonderful memoir by J.R. Moehringer about, this coming of age story of a young man that's kind of raised by his incredible single mom and his various family members from all different walks of life, and then the men and the people of this bar, called the Dickens in New York, and how he kind of, it's a story about family. It's a story about family that you don't always expect. And you just kind of fall in love with this character and with his journey, and you get to kind of go along with him as the memoir style and in a writing does. It kind of takes you in this journey. And I think what George Clooney did as our incredible director, and Martin as our DP, and the incredible cast and the whole production did, and William Monahan, who adapted the screenplay, did such a good job of distilling down Moehringer's world and this universe that's a real world, real people, real story, and kind of you dive into this journey with them, and you fall in love with these characters. And it was such an honor to get to be one and play with these incredible humans that you see.
I would imagine as an actor, when you are attached to a project, I mean, it's already like a daunting thing anyway, but then when you start adding all of these big names, did you have a chance to spend a lot of time with George and with Matt and all of these people? What is that like as an actor you've worked with some great people, obviously, in your career, but when you get around people like this, especially, even one alone would be intimidating in my perspective, but then to have George Clooney involved and then all these other people, Christopher Lloyd, it's just a massive undertaking to be part of such a big ensemble cast, I would say.
100%. I think I'm coming as a child of the 90s. So I was born in the 80s, but I've seen all these films. I've fallen in love with all of their characters they played, and they are a big part of my world and in my love of film and television, so on and so forth. So yeah, you can't not. It's the elephant in the room that you can't acknowledge. You're like, it's George Clooney directing you. It's Ben Affleck opposite you, and obviously you have to get over it quick. You have to work with these people, and
yeah,
but yeah, you're lying if you don't say that, right? It's like you have to accept that fact. But the wonderful thing is that they're such incredible professionals. They've been doing it for so long. They're so talented. And honestly, George Clooney's everything you want him to be. He's this incredible, kind, hardworking human. He's incredibly passionate. He's incredibly smart. He's an actor, so he understands where you're coming from, but he also understands every facet, of making a film. And he makes it easy. He makes it easy to relax and do the work, and he's rooting for you. And that's just such a wonderful thing. Ben, same thing, major celebrity, major star, Ben Affleck says jump, I would have said how high, you know what I mean?
I know, right?
You know what I mean? And no no guilt in that whatsoever. You know, he's incredible and he's earned it. But to see how generous he is as an actor and how well prepared and how much work and effort he put into this role, and Uncle Charlie, and I'm just so excited to have people see that. And, you know, like I said, I love those guys going in. You know what I mean? They could have been absolute jerks to me, and I would have been like, "That's okay. They're having an off day."
Yeah, it's Ben Affleck. The guy.
Whatever. You know what? I'll give him a pass. But you know,
Goodwill Hunting. You know, no, I get it. You know,
they're the exact opposite. It's so cool. It's so cool.
I had a fun interaction with him at Disneyland one time several years ago when he was still with Jennifer Garner, and we were standing in line, and he knew that I knew who he was, and we kept making eye contact. And he's like, "Hey, pal, do you mind if my wife and I cut in front of you to get on this ride?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." He's like, "I'm effing with you, man. I'm totally having fun with you." He goes, "Do you want to take a picture?" I was like, "Sure, if you're cool with it. I know you're with your family." So it's exciting. I mean, you've just done a lot of great projects. You've been a part of, you know, you were in Daddy's Home 2, American Odyssey, True West, Consolations, Waiting for Godot, just to name a few. But I don't want to bury the headline here, because you went to college, you played semi-pro ball, and were like kind of going on this different direction. And then all of a sudden, acting became part of your world. How did that happen? What kind of made the interest change for you and decide, you know, this is something that I want to do instead of what I'm currently doing, by the way?
No, totally. Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I often say, like, if you told me when I was in, you know, high school or whatever, you know, 20 years ago, you know, you're going to be acting and you're going to be in a film with, you know, 2 Batmen, I would have laughed at you.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. 2 different generations.
Yeah. You're crazy. And so, you know, and I love that kind of about life. You know, the truth was I was an athlete, you know, like a high school athlete. I wasn't, you know, I was on a path to become a, you know, a businessman or whatever. You know, that was my early path. And I always saw actors, and I was like amazed that, you know, I was intimidated by them. I was like, wow, it's so cool. You can get up and be vulnerable on stage, you know? And I always loved that. I loved writing and English and reading. And so I always had a love and an appreciation for storytelling. I just was always, honestly, I was intimidated. So my path was different. And I graduated college. I was, you know, still kind of involved in sports and, you know, on kind of a local level. And I just realized I was kind of chasing something else that I wasn't, you know, really connected to anymore. And I found myself saying, you know, man, I would love, let's do it. I have time. Let's try it. Let's just, and I called a mentor of mine, a woman, like English mentor of mine, a woman by the name of Sally Jones. And it's wonderful. She was heavily involved in regional and community theater. And I just said, you know, Sally, what's going on? And there was an audition for a local production of The Music Man, and I went and I just kind of threw myself out there, and I honestly, Brad, I fell in love with it. I just fell in love with so many people's stories, you know, you get caught by it. I loved the rehearsal process. It felt very much like a team sport. It felt like, wow, we all come together, we play our roles, we contribute, we try to serve the story and for an outcome that you know, connects with people. And I just fell in love with that. And I don't know if it's coming from a small town or small place where, you know, I just kept auditioning. I just would audition, and, you know, I would get roles that I had no business getting, you know, and I just kind of dove in, and I allowed that to kind of be my education process. And I'm still doing it to this day. I keep auditioning and learning and trying to learn from the people around me. And I feel really lucky and blessed that I've gotten to do what, you know, to the level and still be in Maine and get to have, you know, other parts of my life that I really love. So, yeah,
not to mention being part owner of a brewing company, Oxbow Brewery. That has to be fun too, to have that be a part of your life. I know you're a family person. You like to spend time with your kids and go fishing and things. So really, it's great to be able to do all of this from where you're at, you know, and not have to live the traditional LA life, I guess you could say, and be in the midst of all the madness. But yet, with today's day and age of this industry, you know, especially now, doing everything via Zoom and virtually. So when you do get a project, you can get it and then go out and, you know, do your job and come back and still be there for your family a lot more than probably maybe 5 or 10 years ago. when everything was so in one particular spot, if that makes any sense.
Totally. No, totally. I always, for me, these were the kind of the cards I was dealt, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they were my choices, I love in many respects. I'm like, oh man, it would be amazing to go to acting school. It'd be amazing to just have had those years of diving in and focusing on that. That wasn't, that wasn't the path that I had. And so I was just always trying to find the work however I could. I'm lucky that Massachusetts has, favorable tax credits and films and production get made. That's been an access point for me. New York's not that far away. And now with the world of self-tape and, having a little bit more access more and more, obviously post-pandemic, I've certainly benefited in some ways from that. But, the thing I've always said about this world is there's so, as there's so little you can control in many respects. You put your work out there, you hope for the best, you hope people like you or want you or want to work with you. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, this is me, hope but in the meantime, I feel like, for me, just in order to keep myself sane, you got to have other pursuits, got to have other passions. I have a family, I have a home, I have, obligations. And so I feel grateful that I can kind of put that energy and that passion into other things. I was a banker, in the past life, I feel so lucky that I have been able to work, through my acting. I actually got my job. I'm the CFO of the brewery. I'm a very small, person, but I relate more to that. I represent the kind of the business aspect of the business. And, I found that I got that opportunity through a YouTube series that I did on Maine craft beer. And so it's just so funny how life goes. And, things never take like a straight line to the end results that maybe you wanted at one point. So I always find solace in that, like that, hey, you never know what happened tomorrow, man. So
yeah, it's very true. It's interesting how just all of this seems to work out, especially in your business, which I say this a lot, is always so different than I think what most people are used to or might be familiar with. So to be able to do this and to also, have the other pursuits that you have is great. Banker, owner in a brewery. I mean, it's fantastic. Your kids, do they kind of get what dad does for a living as far as acting, or are they still in that younger age where they don't really get it? They probably haven't seen, or maybe they have seen your work, or do they kind of get it, or is it kind of distance from them at this point?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, maybe I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. So, certainly I think, I feel like my daughter's kind of, hip to the game a little bit. She understands dad goes away and does these things and she thinks it's pretty cool. I don't think it'll really, until I get that like voice in a Disney movie or something like that.
Oh yeah. Of course.
So, fingers crossed there. But, I think, I hope that I like that she sees different, both my wife and I have, creative and, pursuits. And I like that. I hope that she gets this, she sees that we're different versions of ourselves, we're not always just one thing. And I think that's the same for a lot of people, obviously the dream is always that you get to do the thing that you love the most all the time. The reality is you don't, if I could, getting the Tender Bar is like a perfect example, an incredible, real, wonderful characters, incredible, passionate people that are so talented. They make you better just being in the room, just pushing you. If you could do projects like that 24/7, that's obviously the dream. That's not always the case. So, I just always hopefully try to instill in them that, it's the work you put in and that you try not to take these things for granted when they do come, and that's really my approach.
I love it. It's a great perspective to have, especially in an industry where, as you said, and it's been said before, that nothing is super guaranteed necessarily, but if you can get doing those things and do it well, which you have, and be successful and continually work, then, that's the best life I think that we can have, is doing things that we enjoy and, not begrudgingly going through a 9-to-5, which some of us do still.
We all got to do things we don't want to do, right? That's like
that's
part of the deal, right? It's like there's, I think, like you said, I get it. I want to be realistic in life. It's like, these things come, it's, I think sometimes people see you and like, oh, you're in this thing, you're in this project, that's so cool. They're not seeing you, in the weeds at work or with your kids, or, with the pile of laundry and the million to-do lists. You know what I mean? It's like, that's not on our Instagram, right? So it's like, we have to remember, that I think if maybe the pandemic kind of made that, reminded us of that. We're like,
for sure.
oh, right.
Yeah, for sure.
Life is smacks you in the face sometimes, and so when you get to do the fun, rad stuff, like, enjoy it, so that's
I mean, and if there was ever an opportunity to make those changes for yourself, that was the prime time to do it. You know what I'm saying? Because literally we were all stuck at home for quite some time. And but yeah, this film is fantastic. I cannot wait to see it. The Tinder Bar, and it comes out limited December 17th, nationwide the 22nd, and then on January 7th it will premiere on Amazon Prime. So be looking out in your local newspaper or wherever you go watch movies and get an opportunity. I'm waiting on a screener for this, so hopefully it will come soon so I can check it out. Awesome. This is fantastic. We have been chatting with Matthew Delamater, star of this fantastic film, The Tinder Bar. He plays Joey D, again, opposite of Ben Affleck, Christopher Lloyd, and George Clooney. Matthew, thanks for hanging out with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for the chance to chat with you, and I'm pumped for folks to see these incredible the leads in this show. What Ben and Ty and Lily and Christopher and what George has done. I mean, it's truly remarkable, and I'm excited for folks to check it out. And I'm just stoked that I got to be a part of the fun, man. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.